Well, hello and welcome and hello and welcome and hello. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope everyone had a great week. Have some great plans for the weekend. Guys, you find yourselves in the enviable position on a Friday evening of watching an extremely special edition of Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Of course, it's me, Danny. They call me cornbread because I am moist, doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me the tugboat because I'm short in stature. I pull more than my own weight, and I'm rarely far from my home port. Of course, they call me Stubby Cohiba due to an unfortunate manscaping accident I had in the late 80s down in Miami, Florida. Of course, I used to do all my manscaping with one of those old Vitamix blenders. And as your genitals don't go well with a stainless steel blade spinning at 30,000 RPMs in an uncontrolled environment. You just don't have the regulations. It's like bungee jumping in Nicaragua. So you just don't want to go there. Little premature indeed, wing wong wing. No, but anyway, so they call me a bunch of stuff. They call me Stock Karen. They call me Hurricane Lopez. And today I want to talk about a stock that's just near and dear to my heart. It's CRISPR Therapeutics AG. Ticker symbol is CRSP. What's up, Lisa? And the reason I want to talk to you about this stock is basically the reason I'm interested in any stock. I don't care if they sell paper clips or widgets or AI data center chips or, some type of, gene editing therapy. In this case, all I care about is the fact that the stock is fundamentally undervalued, and preferably also heavily shorted in a completely irrational, nonsensical, kamikaze manner. And I find these setups over and over and over again. The SoFi one wasn't even that great a setup. And that move basically, I was buying a lot in the fours, but the basic move was from 7 to 18. So, that's not a bad move at like 140% or whatever that is. And then SMCI, I mean, I started talking about in the teens, and that moved to 68 in short order. And I've sheared that sheep 3 times already, and I'm doing it again. So these are I'm not doubling my money. I'm like 5xing, 6xing, 10xing my money. And this is the next one, guys. And there's a lot of reasons I believe that, and I'm just going to go over a few of them. But basically, the setup is the same. Mispriced, misunderstood, dragged down with the sector because a lot of the other companies in this sector were, going straight to bankruptcy, and they did. And there's going to be consolidation, but CRISPR already has an approved therapy. CRISPR has a deal with Vertex to bring them cash. If you look at the facts, CRISPR has about $2 billion in cash and about 1/10 that in debt, about $200 million in total debt. Their cash burn is very slow, so their runway is almost indefinite, years and years and years, because they have money coming in. They also have a great pipeline that they own 100% of. So of all these people that are saying this is all fizzling, of course, that's what they were saying about fintech, and that's what they were saying about the AI trade. It's fizzling till it isn't. So you have a company, let's talk about it. There's not that much in the news other than, Kathy Wood buying, ARK owns like 12% of this company. That's another thing I look for, which, I didn't have with SoFi particularly, but I had with SMCI, is very, very high institutional / insider ownership. The insider ownership on CRISPR is just off the charts. So if you start to look at these share statistics, Yahoo says different things, Fintel says different things, but they're saying 76% institutional ownership, 2% insider ownership. Shares sold short on the last report. That kind of rhymes and it's hard to say. 28% of the free float, 25% of the shares outstanding. Taking a look at the chart, guys, this is one of the best setups I've ever seen. If you take a look at the level it closed at today, you see it bounce off there in 2023. You see it bounce off that level again in 2022. You see it bounce off that level again in 2020, again in 2019, and consolidate heavily there in 2019. So this blue channel is valid and this green wedge is valid simultaneously, the blue being the long-term uptrend, the green being sort of the more long mid downtrend. You see it tried to move a lot when it hit this intersection, and it's broken down here below this blue line. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you want to see, this is all the Trump uncertainty. You see the spike, you see the tariff, go through the floor, but it's really completely irrelevant. This is not an American company, and they're not really affected by any of the short-term stuff. What matters is that their therapies keep moving through the regulatory process and keep being successful. They're been deemed very, very safe, and they're basically first to market, ahead of the game, a ton of stuff in their pipeline, a ton of cash, no debt, completely mispriced. And then you have to figure, why is this thing being shorted just absolutely into the ground? It just doesn't make any sense. I will go over this chart in more detail when I have more time, but suffice it to say that this is going to move up, I think, violently. I mean, does this look familiar if you looked at the SMCI chart? Just look at that chart if you have time. Now, the timeline is different. You see this move for SMCI would be like early 2024. But if you look at this trend line, guys, in starting in March of 2020 and ending in January of 2021, so that's 10 months, this made a 560% move. Okay, a Frank Reynolds style move, the kind of move that got him his wife. Went from 32 to 220 in less than a year. And I would contend that this setup is far more bullish than this setup it had. This was all over the place. This is absolutely controlled algo hack rookie madness. And I'm sure they're making a lot of money killing options and doing other things, but I mean, this doesn't make any sense to anybody with a brain. I mean, if you look yesterday, they borrowed 1 million shares, which is a ton for this company. Short interest, 25% of the free float. Days to cover, 10 days to cover. $800 million worth of shares sold short. And shares on loan, exactly the same as the shares sold short. She sells, C sells by the seashore, whatever that old nursery rhyme by the sea is. So you see shares on loan were just 29 million, and they've come down to 24 million in just a couple of weeks. And I've told you that in my setup videos. I look for, the short, on the other hand, yeah, it went down a little bit there, but it's come way back up. It was down 19, and I'll show you the date on that, up to, 21 million. So it's going up a lot faster this last week or last couple of weeks than the shares on loan, which actually, I think, trending down. Utilization, 93%, short score, 81. Okay, look at the official reports. I know you guys can't see this stuff because it's blurry, but I'm not making up numbers. I'm not lying to you. Short percentage of the free float up to 25. This was all the way down, guys, back just around a year ago, a little over a year ago, down to 17.5. So you just see it march up steadily. May 2024, 18, September 20, you get into January, December 2020, 22, and then it's been hovering around 24% all year. And you see it just going up there again. So you ask yourself, why would this stock be shorted to this level? You can't really come up with any answer. I mean, other than sort of an anti-gene editing bias, because some of these other companies have failed and gone out of business and, given up completely on ex vivo and gone exclusively to in vivo. But CRISPR has a very strong in vivo pipeline as well. And if you basically look at the analysts who know what they're talking about, particularly the ratings that have come out like just this month, I mean, you can point to a couple of, Gula Livshits, funny name, great analyst. I mean, I've seen her writing or something. I don't actually know that much about her, but she lowered her price target, interesting, from 84 to 82. Lissa Bako, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I've seen her, she's been around, but on TV, different stuff. She's at $99. Just the average is $68, $69. So you're talking about, 76% upside analyst. I'm not saying, that's necessarily what you should base anything on, but all the usual suspects are there on the long side. ARK owns, 13% of the company. If you look at, some of the biggest players, T. Rowe Price, then my favorite, BlackRock is in there, Sumitomo, State Street, UBS, FMR LLC, and then there's another one of my favorites, Vanguard, Bank of America, Morgan Fudley. They're all long the stock. And then institutional ownership, this says 95.33%. I don't think that's really accurate. I think they're combining a few things, but that's basically the entire float. So institutional ownership is probably somewhere between 78 and, I don't know, 85%. It's hard because I've looked at several sources and they all say slightly different things, but the bottom line is they own almost the entire. That's the same thing with SMCI. That's why it can make these insane moves to the upside. We're like, how does Palantir keep going up when, the fundamentals, the growth don't support those types of moves? The idea is 90% of the shares are locked up in a safe. They're in the vault. They're in the tree trust, their trust tree, whatever the F that thing was from Meet the Fockers. But the point is, guys, the share count is totally misleading because if institutions are long this thing, and then look at the actual insiders in the stock. This is where some of that overlap happens because look at these companies that own these shares. Bayer Global Investments, and then you have Celgene, and then there's a bunch of other pharmaceutical companies that own shares. They're all over here, but if you look at, GlaxoSmithKline owns, 3 million shares. Why do these huge European pharmaceutical companies own all these shares of this company? It's not going out of business. If you haven't read anything on this company, I would highly, highly recommend this article. It's just from a few days ago or May 5th in Seeking Alpha, Bio CGT. And if you read who this guy is, and that's down at the end. But if you don't know who he is, he has a master's in biomedicine, PhD in bioengineering, 20 years experience in research and development of novel cell and gene therapies. Then he moved in, supply side analyst, all that stuff. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but he goes through and compares Intellia to CRISPR. And this is just an amazing article if you want to give yourself an introduction to the technology, an introduction to the company, the thesis, why he believes their balance sheet is so strong. And we'll see them through, the ups and downs, the regulatory upheavals, this sort of, RFK headwinds of firing all the regulatory people and having no idea sort of what's going on in terms of the job. But anyway, I highly, highly recommend this article. Safety, efficacy goes through that regulatory uncertainty, catalysts and updates. This is very important. Much better buy, in my opinion. I think he's giving Intellia way too much credit in this article, but he still says upgrades CRISPR to a strong buy, maintains Intellia at a buy. But since my last coverage, CRISPR has not released new data. There are multiple ongoing trials. Nevertheless, the company is expecting to release data on 4 of their in vivo product candidates through 2025. So 4 updates on in vivo this year. So CRISPR's in vivo products are very early. I believe they're targeting cardiovascular disease, has a large revenue potential. Therefore, investors should pay close attention to clinical data. For context, global cardiovascular drug market is estimated to be at $156 billion annually in 2025, with CAGR 3.62 for the next 10 years, reaching $214 billion by 2034. Importantly, those estimates are based on. Hold on, guys. One sec. I want to make sure I have something set up here. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, sorry about that. So you can see the pipeline here is like stronger than, and besides this one that they co-own, I think they own 40% of, and Vertex owns 60%. I think almost all the rest of these are, wholly owned by CRISPR themselves. I know they have to pay some royalties to the, the college that sort of owns the underlying, but they also, I think, just run a court case against somebody else that, I think the inventors of this technology are one of the founders of this company or CEO, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Do your own research. This isn't financial advice. Barely coherent, folks. Barely coherent. So in contrast, CRISPR's product candidates are being one-done treatment, talking the root of the problem. So even though they're expensive, as clinicians find out about them, they're very likely to, one-of-kind treatment proves to be efficient and safe, people affected by cardiovascular disease and their prescribers are likely to prefer a curative treatment instead of taking several pills a day to control hypertension, cholesterol, among others. So you guys see the potential here. Yeah, it's a few years away. Don't move until you see it. It's 10 moves away. I'm offering you a draw. Look at the board. I have. Oh, I'm always chasing Bobby Fischer. What's up, Not a Lurker? I forgot to text Not. Poor Not. I don't text him, but it doesn't make any difference because you never know when I'm going to start. I'm a complete idiot. We all know that. Yeah, I'm going to cut this one off pretty short, guys, because I don't want to read through this whole article, but I highly recommend you do. I highly recommend you take a look at, do you think the short interest, just heavy short interest on this stock makes it? There's 4 fundamental catalysts coming up in 2024. They're still getting money from Vertex. They have a ton. Look, the whole market cap of this company is like 3.4 billion, and they have 2 billion in cash. I mean, they have like $21 per share in cash and basically no debt. I mean, just the financing activities from their cash stronghold basically finance the entire operations of the company. And that's not even talking about the, money that's the progress payments that are going to come in from Vertex as they roll out Casgevy. I mean, this is just, the valuation here is just nutty. Just makes no sense to me. They threw out the baby with the bathwater, flushed it down the toilet. I don't know. I don't know why this fell this far, but I'm going to make a ton of money on it. And this thing's going to move up violently. I think it's going to make SMCI look like a pussycat because I think there's going to be more volatility here based on the players at the top. I mean, SMCI is basically Vanguard and BlackRock controlling everything. This is a lot more players, just want to walk on part in the background shot in the, movie of your life or whatever that song goes. I just want a bit part in your life. No, don't sub and like. SMCI, I mean, SMCI is still just extreme amount of momentum behind that stock right now. It's incredible. I mean, I'm not getting off the train. Ton of shares traded hands again today. I mean, they shorted the hell out of it again today. I absolutely guarantee you. I mean, look at these short ratios on CRISPR, guys. Just not for nothing. But look at these short volume ratios on the stock. 68, 67, 65, 60, 69, 66, 52, 65, 69, 68, 74 and a half. This is the last couple of weeks since that short interest report came. So they're probably shorting, over 30% of the free float at this point. Just desperately holding the stock down. And for what? I don't know. Some update to some, very early stage clinical trial. It's just, again, they pick stocks, whether it be SMCI, whether it be CRISPR, whether it be Palantir, and they hold them down for a period of time. They accumulate all the shares. They drive them skyward. They dump them on retail's head at the top, and they make a ton of money. Retail sells the dip and smells the rip. And, the guys in mansions in Connecticut live happily ever after. Meanwhile, Joe Sixpack can't pay his rent. Walks out drunk. So driving the women and children out into the cold prairie. It was a Kevin Costner, Bobby Duvall movie. Free grazing's legal. I don't care. I'm Irish. Run this town. It's a bad accent. I'm fond of you, Sue. I thought you was married to the doctor, but turns out it's your brother. Kevin, I mean, is it me or is Kevin Costner a terrible actor? I don't know. He's made good movies. I mean, Tin Cup was fun. He's made some good movies. I know he's a handsome man. I'm not hating on him for his rugged good looks, but just a horrible actor. Those Westerns, Dances with Wolves, it's unwatchable for me. I'm sorry. I can't get through it. Who's your brother, Sue? He's like, I know. I'm Annette Benning. Why do I have to work with this homunculus? Do we have to do another take? Why are you wearing leather wrist guards? Anyway, guys, this show's definitely run its course. I might talk SMCI a little later, but CRISPR, CRSP, this stock's down in the 30s. It's not going to be there for long. This is going to be in the triple digits before you know it, and I'll be the chunky stock monkey sitting here saying I told you so. But until that time, we're going to have to rely on Megatron. He's late, which is surprising given his open field speed. You got Forever Forgiven. He's going to buy CRISPR. Yep, you should have bought it in the 20s. It was just down there. Highwayman with Duvall. Robert Duvall is always great, but having to carry Kevin Costner through some of those westerns, like when it happens, it'll happen quick. Looks like somebody laid the boots to him. Like, yeah, I'm even a better actor than this guy. I'm the Weasley sheriff. Could be easily bought off with a jar of quinine. Well, I'm fond of you, Sue. He's like, you already said that. Next line. Terrible. That big, huge dude, he's pretty good. The guy they ended up like beating to death. I don't think he actually died. I think they just like put the boots to him. Anyway, I'm annoying all my office mates. Shocker. Pipcat's here, a new subscriber. Pipcat, thank you. Appreciate you watching. Yeah, 10x is going to explode. You just have to be patient. I wouldn't buy a ton of it, but I buy a little bit. They call me a little bit. Un Poco Moss ETF. Yeah, I'm going to be putting out an ETF very, very soon. What we're going to do is we're going to fund mini fund, and mini fund is no, guys. I'm not going to ask you for any of your money. I'm not going to manage any of your money. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm not going to do a membership. I'm not going to do a paywall. I'm not going to ask you for 1 red cent. That's not the point of this show. I have a job. I have multiple jobs. Yeah, Field of Dreams was pretty good. I agree with you there. Again, I'm not saying the man hasn't made some great movies. I'm saying he is a horrible, horrible actor. And dumb as a bag of rocks. I swear you were the man. You guys may have seen me in such film. No, you guys probably, if you were around in the early 80s, you probably saw me on a few episodes of Mr. Belvedere. I was once bested for a role by Bryce Brickman, the great Bryce Brickman. Thank you, Forever Forgiven. I appreciate it, man. Or woman. I assume you're a man. Got the big bear thing. Looks ominous. I don't know if any women would pick that as an avatar, but you never know. I would say I don't want to misgender you, but honestly, I don't really give a fuck. I don't mean that to be disrespectful or anything. I'm like the most respectful guy, but I'm not going to start like getting paranoid about misgendering avatars. I can't go there, guys. I just can't go there. Let's see, guys. I love Christopher. He was so sweet. Christopher who? Sorry, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Okay, anyway, guys, I'm going to end this show because it's terrible. So anybody else want to hear about it? And guys, suggest some stocks. If you see anything dramatically undervalued, held down, shorted, that's the kind of stuff I like. About to make a huge, huge move to the upside where I can make like 5x my money, make a few $100,000, take a vacation with Princess J. That's the end game here, guys. Yeah, I definitely could sell you a couple of timeshares, Carl C. Mark. I got timeshares outside of Toledo. Nobody's buying. I got Airbnbs in Saskatoon. I got a bed and breakfast in Belfast. No. Let's see. Costner does good. Costner, they're all lose. Yeah, no. I mean, Gary Oldman, he's greatest actor, guys, greatest actor going. But anyway, yeah, Lewis Black is good too. So anyway, Rigetti, quantum computing, D-Wave, you were awful, terrible is an understatement, right? Not look good anymore. Hey guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, especially the great Not a Lurker, J Money, best wrench on YouTube, guys. And no, You cannot get the official Not a Lurker hat. Only I have one. Not even Not a Lurker has one, which is ironic because he's bald and he needs it. The ironic part is Not a Lurker has a beautiful flowing head of hair. Just shaves that thing to be more aerodynamic when he's riding his road bike, walking the decks. That's the type of commitment the man has to his cardio. He's like, I'm going to eat a bowl of sausage and I'm going to ride my road bike 45 miles. Nobody can stop me. Do you have your helmet on? Yeah, I do, honey. Don't worry. It's a flesh-colored helmet to emulate my head. I had it crafted in the exact shape of my head, only 3 times scale. Looks like one of those Steve Tasker double helmets. I don't know, guys. I'm a complete idiot. Thanks for joining me.